Welcome back, and hello if you are new. So thank you so much for tuning in. This week I'm going to do something slightly different, and seeing as we are more than halfway into 2019, I thought it would be appropriate to let you guys know what some of my album of the years so far are, and see if they actually stay the course until the final end of the year, really. There are some absolutely predictable choices, there are some surprises, and there are some records which completely passed me by, which I didn't even review, but I have not stopped listening to. So without further ado, let's kick things off. So I'm kicking things off with Whitechapel's The Valley, an album which I think really I didn't quite rate highly enough. I really enjoyed this record, but then upon further listens it became apparent that this really is Whitechapel's best album. It's got such a fantastic concept, the songwriting is faultless, and the band are fiercely experimenting without losing their core integral sound. And I think that's probably the biggest point of Whitechapel's The Valley. Now, Caveins' Final Transmission is an album which is pretty much only written in emotion, and for a while it took me quite a long time to get my head around it, but after multiple listens I really loved this album, and I think that it's become my sort of go-to relaxing album of the year. And if this is going to be the final record that we do get from them, as the name Final Transmission would suggest, then if this is ending on a high note. Finishing this kaleidoscopic look into the world of the colour spectrum, it really kind of comprises all of the different subgenres that the band have been experimenting with, but puts them into even more experimental approach. And particularly, I know a lot of people weren't keen on the production, but I really liked the production in a weird way. I thought that it gave the album character. Baroness created a record which kind of moves seamlessly throughout the subgenres and allows for experimentation, but most importantly shows that this band have grown, and they are only getting bigger. Now, Spirit Adrift, this is one which completely bypassed me. I saw lots of people posting about it on Instagram, and I'm really glad that I did check it out, because what a record this is. You know, it's characterized by brilliant songwriting, these Herculean victorious harmonies, you know, like I'm talking Thin Lizzy sort of style. Spirit Adrift also win the award for having the best instrumental piece with that fantastic 80s fueled The Way of Return, and it perfectly rounds off this brilliant album, which is Divided by Darkness. I cannot recommend it enough. This is certainly a Wildcard, and I have to say that this is probably the most unique album that you'll hear in 2019 if you've not heard it already. The band combine elements of Sisters of Mercy, Tribulation, and The Cure, but then throw in a little sort of speck of death metal and a bit of black metal in there as well, and you've pretty much got Idle Hands. And I wouldn't kind of put it past a little bit of Danzig-style vocals, but it's such an eclectic mix from so many different ends of the genre spectrum that they've created a sound which is entirely theirs. And Manor has not left my iPod ever since. Let there be light, let there be moon, let there be stars, and let there be you, let there be. Now, if ever there was a task to sum up Devin Townsend's entire musical being, then I think Empath has pretty much nailed it. On this album we see all the different emotional facets of, you know, Townsend. We've got the new age stuff, the really aggressive stuff, the kind of symphonic element that he's had recently. Then you've got the more industrial side, and it's just absolutely everything, but in a kind of 5.1 cinematic sort of surround idea. And Empath, I might not have listened to as much as some of the other records on this list, but that's because the sheer amount of energy that you need to listen to this record is quite astounding. It's one of the most compelling releases in Devin Townsend's catalogue, and I have to say that it's a masterpiece. It is an absolute masterpiece. Potentially the most ugly record on this list, Interarmor have their fingers in multiple pies here on Sulphur English. From the one moment we're looking at these transported, Morbid Angel, lumbering style riffs, and then the next we're into psychedelia, Pink Floyd 73 era prog. And it is such a fantastic combination that Interarmor have put together on Sulphur English that it's truly compelling and very much cinematic. No one album is ever the same by the band, and this latest incarnation is absolutely fascinating.
I'll be waiting for the moment when you're out of your comfort zone. Are you afraid of realizing we're out of control? Did you know you'll never know?
Potentially one of the biggest surprises for me on this list is While She Sleeps is So What. Now, I like While She Sleeps, but I've never been this into While She Sleeps. I think that So What is not only a record which is current, they've crafted 10 fantastic songs on here. Brilliant choruses, brilliant bridges, fantastic vocals. Everything about So What is calculated and thought through to the finest detail. And I think that is what makes it one of the most enjoyable but also replayable albums. Now, perhaps the most harrowing record on this list has to go to Full of Hell on Weeping Choir. On Weeping Choir, Full of Hell have created a window into the soul of hell. Like, this is ridiculously heavy. And even though it may only be 20 minutes long, I'm glad that it is, because it's such an undertaking emotionally, sonically, every single way. But if it wasn't in this sort of compressed 20-minute burst, I feel that it would lose its intensity. And that is really one of the things that sets this record apart from everything else on this list. You wanted technical? Well then look no further than Allegion's Apoptosis. I absolutely love this album. The melodies are the strongest they've ever done, and I think that they've really kind of come out of this overtly technical but without the kind of melody piece that they had in the past. And the Apoptosis really does showcase their strongest elements throughout the entire record to create one of my favourite albums of the year, without a doubt. It's absolutely fantastic and you can't miss out on it.
So I apologize if you feel.
Now, potentially the most experimental record on this list is Bring Me the Horizon and Ammo. I was fully prepared to absolutely hate this band, and I remember when I first heard Mantra way back, actually around this time in August, because they debuted it at Reading Festival, which is literally 2 days away. I couldn't get enough of it, and I thought that it was absolutely fantastic. And then seeing the different singles that they'd not only chosen, but brought out, saw this level of experimentation that was going on this album, and there's not really been anything like it this year. And not to mention, it's also their kind of statement of intent of where they want to go and moving into that sort of mainstream category. And do you know what? Fair play to them, because it's a fantastic record. It doesn't necessarily sound what we might think would be Bring Me the Horizon, but then what do we think Bring Me the Horizon are? Especially in 2019. And I think that's the most important thing, is that the band are keeping things interesting. finally, we come to Tomb Mold. Tomb Mold released Planetary Clairvoyance, and I have not stopped listening to it. It's caveman death metal riffs with a sci-fi edge, and I can't get enough of it. They've capitalised on what they created on Manor of Infinite Forms, but then streamlined it even further to create this absolutely brilliant release. So let me know what you think. Have I picked wrongly? Have I missed loads of stuff out? Let me know, I'd love to hear. But I'll probably be on my honeymoon when this video goes out, so I hope you guys are all enjoying the final dregs of summer, and I'll see you guys when I return. Alright, take care friends.